Hey everybody, Justin with AmericanMuscle.com here with my review of the JLT cold air intake and VMP tune combo available for your 2015 and up Mustang GT. All right guys, let's start with the JLT first here. Now obviously one of the most recognizable names in the category or the aftermarket when it comes to intakes. And again, it's going to be a top rated intake here on the site. All the reviews are very favorable. Now, this is a tune-required intake, meaning you can't just bolt this thing up and go without the use of an aftermarket custom tune, and that's mainly due to the fact that this thing utilizes a rather large 110mm mass airflow housing, currently the largest available on the site for your S550 GT. Now, this is going to let your Coyote motor breathe a little bit easier and traditionally should make a little bit more power compared to those non-tune required intakes utilizing a smaller mass airflow housing. Now, one thing I do really like about the JLT is that it does incorporate that MAF housing into the actual intake tube itself here, making for a much cleaner appearance overall. Some other options on the aftermarket or in the aftermarket will utilize a metal mass airflow housing in conjunction with a plastic intake tube, and there's nothing really wrong with that from a performance standpoint, but it just doesn't look as clean in my opinion. In addition to that intake tube and mass airflow housing, the rest is going to be pretty much standard here, guys, in the world of aftermarket intakes. You're going to be looking at a high-flow, reusable oiled filter, in addition to an ABS plastic molded open element style heat shield, which does feature this duct here that will tap into your factory cold air ducting, which is a nice little touch in my opinion. You can also expect all of the hardware and couplers needed to get this thing installed. One thing to point out, guys, when driving the car with the JLT installed, I definitely noticed some increased noise coming from under the hood, and that's going to be pretty much standard stuff whenever you ditch your sealed factory airbox in favor of an open element style filter like the JLT. There's no negative to this. In fact, a lot of people actually enjoy the added noise, but it is worth pointing out, and honestly, depending on how loud your exhaust is, you might not even hear it at all. All right, guys, that's going to cover the basics of the JLT. Now let's hit on the VMP tune, which again is going to be a premium or top shelf option when it comes to tunes here at AM. Of course, you can expect the power increase, but you're also going to expect the refinement and drivability, and that's the big separating factor with the VMP. So no surging issues, no drivability issues, no stalling issues, things like that, in addition to the power gains throughout the RPM range. Now they do offer 3 tunes along with their tuning package here, a low, medium, and high octane tune, depending on what kind of fuel you have in your area. And they also offer 1 datalog revision if needed. Those VMP tunes do come loaded on the SF4 X4 Power Flash tuner, which does feature some pretty nice bells and whistles on its own. One-touch data logging, capable of reading and displaying up to 8 different values at one time, boost, air-fuel ratio, intake air temperature, things like that. It can hold up to 10 tunes at once, and it can still read and clear those check engine lights. All right, guys, I said it before, but I'll say it again, this is definitely going to be a premium package. Now, both the JLT and VMP tunes by themselves are going to be at the top of the price range in their own respective categories. Put them together and you can expect to drop some nice coin on this package when adding it to your cart. That being said, you are going to be seeing some pretty solid gains, as we'll show you here in a minute with the Dyno Jet. But first, let's talk about the install. Really not that bad here. Basic hand tools, essentially meaning a socket set and a flat head, and you should be able to get the JLT installed. We call it an hour on the site, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it took you 30 minutes or less to get everything banged out. The tune factor in another half hour, give or take, and again, plug and play deal there. So overall, 1 out of 3 wrenches on my overall difficulty meter, not a hard thing to install. Anybody should be able to accomplish this in their driveway or garage. We already grabbed our baseline run using our manual 2015 GT. We then reran the car with the JLT installed and the VMP tune uploaded, and here's how the numbers look. Baseline, our GT is putting down 386 horsepower, 364 pound-feet of torque at the rear wheels. With the JLT VMP combo, the car is now making 410 horsepower, 369 pound-feet of torque. That's good for a peak gain of 24 horsepower over those baseline numbers and gains of as much as 28 horsepower, 32 pound-feet of torque underneath the curve. All right, guys, so what do all these numbers mean? Well, basically those peak numbers are nice, they're sexy, of course, but you really need to pay attention to the numbers underneath the curve because that's the stuff you're gonna be feeling day in and day out. Essentially everything from 2,000 RPM all the way to about 5,000 RPM, your normal operating range for the most part here. The car picked up a ton of torque down low, and that's what you're gonna be feeling red light to red light, pulling onto the highway, merging, things like that. Again, stuff you're gonna be feeling driving the car around town. Now, did it stop there? No, it picked up a ton of power up top as well. So when you're really starting to beat on the car, you're drag racing the car, obviously it gained up top as well. So to wrap this thing up, guys, the JLT, obviously a proven intake, and as you can see when you pair it up with the VMP tune, you're gonna be getting a lot of power, but you're also gonna see a nice increase to overall drivability, and again, a more refined product. So be sure to learn more about the JLT VMP combo for your GT here at AmericanMuscle.com.